Okay, you go.
Well, thank you once again for joining. As you guys know, the agenda is very simple. We want this to be a conversation, make sure that we can continue coordinating. So we'll start with general introductions and companies and organizations that are really making a big difference. And so we can all get to know the kind of people that are joining, the kind of resources that we might have. And so we can continue pushing all Ukraine efforts forward. And then we'll basically just open up for questions. Maureen will give a quick update on where we are in terms of the containers being shipped and loaded, as well as some of the things that we've already coordinating. Once again, with the sole purpose of getting more support from you and more ideas and more suggestions. We want to keep pushing this forward. We know that unfortunately this is going to last longer than we all kind of wanted it to last, but we're together and we stand by Ukraine. So with that said, Maureen, anything else, or you, Christy, anything else that you guys want to cover today?
No, I can talk later. Yeah. But you covered the general topics I wanted to go over once we kind of went through some intros and sharing of information.
All right. Well, with that said, I mean, people that are new to this call, feel free to jump in. As said, it's just a conversation. No one's leading it. No one's kind of having the agenda or controlling the agenda. We just want to be mindful with everyone's time, and we'll close it and stop at the time that we agreed. But other than that, it's just communicating and continue pushing things forward. So I do have a couple of introductions. Antti, if you can introduce yourself and your story and the great company that you're leading, and that would be amazing. And then of course, Everett is with us, and Kay, I want you to talk a bit more. Kim, Pavel, thanks for coming again, and we'll just go from there.
All right, maybe I'll jump in. So Antti Sorsa, dialing in from Finland, and I've been working in procurement for close to 20 years now, and different global companies. Lived in US for a couple of years, and been running my own consulting company now for 2 years, and I got introduced to well, first of all, everybody of course in Finland were shocked with the war. I think we got it very close to our heart, been fighting with Russia in the World War II by ourselves. It kind of hit maybe closer than with many other people. But yeah, there was a few people who started pretty up close, kind of or soon after the war started, got together that what could we do to support Ukraine, and there was of course lots of people all around Europe were kind of feeling the same thing and starting to collect different donations and you know shipping stuff into Ukraine. And there were lots of questions going around that well, how could we actually move the donated goods to Ukraine? And there was Samuel Korpi from Finland and Lance Younger from UK and Rohit Sandal from UK, and they kind of thought that well, maybe procurement community is actually quite well networked all around the world to support in this and bring, you know, the logistics capabilities together, and also then, you know, you have lots of money donated suddenly to different organizations. So then to use that money in a good way, you know, you need reliable suppliers to do that. So then Procure for Peace was formed to do exactly that. So kind of connect the demand from Ukraine and then the supply outside Ukraine. And I've been now working for pretty much 4 or 5 weeks, almost full time as a sourcing lead for the. We're not an organization. We have no organization, no kind of, you know. We are maybe a movement at the moment. So it's a kind of a people coming together, volunteering. So we have in our core team, we have a core team in Ukraine. Just got off a call with them. So we have about 5 people in Ukraine, kind of coordinating the demand side, connecting to different NGOs in Ukraine, sharing the information about us and our suppliers in there. And then we also have a volunteer based outside Ukraine, and a LinkedIn group of more than 1,000 people have signed in for the LinkedIn group to be kind of, at least aware.
Sorry to interrupt, but if you can start putting some of those things through the chat, that's the way we've been doing it before, so that people can.
I'll share them. Yeah.
So just feel free to post and link and copy anything to the chat for everyone.
Yeah, I will do that once I stop talking. So good. So that's pretty much what we do. We have a volunteer base, kind of more committed volunteers, committing maybe closer to full time, and then we have this big network of people, interested people, and kind of helping maybe connect the dots, give contacts to different suppliers and so on, or then just to kind of give a category expertise. And basically what we've been now mainly doing is this kind of matchmaking. So there's few categories with a big need in Ukraine. We've been collecting suppliers for armored plates, for these bulletproof vests, medical kits, different components for medical kits, tourniquets, walkie-talkies. So we've kind of collected a reliable list of suppliers who are not under sanctions, they are financially okay, they have availability, and they can ship either to Ukraine or to the border. And then we've been publishing those lists either in Ukraine we have different channels that we've been publishing then the lists, and they've been actually used quite a lot to procure those things that are needed. And then we've had very specific needs coming from Ministry of Economy. They've been looking for large quantities of food, or different NGOs in Europe have been trying to find different food products or medical products or hygiene products or stuff like that. So then we've been finding reliable suppliers for that. So basically doing sourcing for any need related to Ukraine, whether it's coming from the country or from a NGO supporting refugees, for example, or so. So that's
I have a question
short.
for you, if you don't mind, because it seems like a lot of what you're doing is very similar to essentially what we're trying to do on this call, which is matchmake and bring people together. Certainly there's a notion that divides us, where a lot of us are, and it makes the challenge and the time to get things to those in need a little bit greater than within, let's say, the continent of Europe, right? And so I would love to kind of pick your brain, now and also later, because we have Everett here on the call, and on my screen, he's like right next to you. But he has, 100+ pallets he works for Performance Health, and they have a ton of product ready to donate. We have Matter, who's not on the call right now, but they were on a week or so ago, and they have pallets of mixed medical supplies. Nothing first is medicine, so it wouldn't be held up for any of the challenges that we've seen for specifically food and medicine. But where our kind of challenges that we have the donors and then we have those in need, but there's a gap in the middle of how do we can get it from A to B, but we need assistance and also sponsorship and help with that. And how are you kind of overcoming just the basic fact is it costs money to ship something from A to B, or how are you filling in that gap that we might be able to learn from you,
How we've done it is we basically scoped our task in a way that you have a need, but you also have the money to then kind of buy something that you're getting, and that includes the transportation. So we've kind of scoped out the donations. Of course, we connect, if somebody says I'm willing to donate, and then we have a need, we're not kind of, saying, well, we don't want to talk to you if you want to donate. That's not the point. But if we have a need, but there is no funding behind it, then we don't have a kind of a fundraising part. We're not going to start looking for the money to pay for that. So that's a little bit how we've solved it, that we, for the task we take, then there needs to be kind of the need, but there also needs to be the funding already in place, whether it's coming from an NGO or wherever, but that's kind of should be already in place.
Okay. Have you found that the NGOs are willing to kind of pay for the transportation of a lot of the donated product if it wasn't just the product themselves?
For us, it's been that in the cases that we worked, yes, the logistics has been part of it. I know they are kind of at least supported or subsidized logistics available. So we do also kind of, if that's a problem, then we do kind of try to figure it out, talking to different logistics providers as well. Whether there's kind of, capability to do that, but mainly that's been sorted out that somebody is willing to pay for it. Yeah.
And, Maureen, I think jumping in on that, Marcos is also with us. Marcos, how's everything going? Maybe you can introduce a little bit of yourself and what you do, and of course, thank you for everything you guys are doing.
Yeah, this is my first time on the call. My name is Marcos Escobar. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Swan Transportation. I know we moved a couple of containers from the U.S. and or the freight to the port that's going to go to the Ukraine. We offer pretty much every service imaginable with logistics within the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Anything over the road, anything you need. And we're going to continue to help you guys with these efforts with the Ukraine.
You guys have been great, Marcus. We've been, you guys have been our go-to for all the shipments that we're working to get like, especially for the drayage moves. Samantha has been super helpful. We've told her up front what has been a move going to Ukraine, Poland, Hungary, Moldova, and she's come back and been assistant. So you guys are our go-to for that, and we appreciate that.
Thank you, and I'm glad we can help.
Thank you so much. I mean, your leadership and kind of proactiveness in doing things like this are great, and we would love to have more suppliers like you. So thank you for doing that, and please let everyone know on your team that we love working with you. We'll continue giving you as much business as we possibly can, and thank you so much for helping us with these moves, because your support makes a big difference, and the more we can subsidize some of these shipments, the more we can ship, and the more we can ship, the more we can change some of these people's lives. So thank you very much, Marcus.
Absolutely, you're more than welcome, and I'll be sure and let everyone know. I feel the same way as probably everyone else does with this situation that's going on in Ukraine. It seems like it's kind of far out of my reach to really do something, but we have the professional capacity to help where we can, and that's what we want to try to continue to do.
Thank you. And Evert, if I know you've been regularly on this call, so most people here already know who you are and what you guys are doing, but if you can just go in and introduce yourself, maybe Antti or someone else, maybe and Marcus can benefit from it.
Perfect. Yes, Evert van Staden. I'm Director Indirect Sourcing. I'm with Performance Health, based in Ohio. We are primarily a rehab and recovery supplier, but a major medical healthcare product supplier in the US, with operations in the UK, Australia, and Asia as well. At this time, we have already shipped some tourniquets, which we manufacture at one of our plants in Ohio, to Ukraine, because the tourniquets were from my assessment, and one of the most in-demand items. We also have about 4 truckloads of product ready to ship as soon as we can line up all the logistics and operations. I have been in discussions with our freight consolidator, which is C.H. Robinson. They are willing to move the freight to the collection warehouse, but working with Maureen on potentially, rather than doing LTL shipments, doing the full container load and loading it directly at our distribution center in Indianapolis. We would definitely love to contribute and help out. We have made an early decision and stance to distance ourselves from all future sales in Russia, and to take active steps not to support that regime any further. And as a further step, want to support the people of Ukraine as far as we could. The challenge is obviously, as Maureen stated, how do we bridge that gap between getting what we have to those in need? And that's probably the challenge that we need to focus on how to overcome that.
I think Auntie helped us kind of narrow down some of that, how we're focusing on who we're getting it to, and them being part of the solution too. So our team will, like I said, I've been trying to keep in touch with you this week. I did not want you to think that I could forget about your very, very generous donation, but I definitely want to make sure that we're getting things done most efficiently.
Yes.
And getting it on. And so that might take another day or two to figure out, but I think in the long term, it will get in the right hands faster.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Maureen. Yeah. Thanks for your help on this.
Yeah. And the same thing is true with Matter, which they couldn't be on the call today, but they did say they had almost an unlimited amount of supplies to donate. So once we can match them up with the right consignee, we can get those moving. And I did speak with Oksana, and she has a list as well of organizations to work with. She and I were both talking with our kids in the background, asking for different sorts of snacks and other things, because that's what kids do when moms are on the phone. And we said, I thought she'd be on the call today, but I told her we would touch base again later this week, as she's over there and has some great ideas as well, and ideas for matchmaking for sure. It looks like Enrique dropped off, and we have some new people on. I'm wondering if we have anybody else on the call that might want to introduce themselves. I can't say everybody's full names and organizations, or if anyone that's already been on the call before had something else they wanted to share before we really talked about kind of what Vector's done in the last week. It's not really about us, but it's worth sharing some of the kind of inquiries we've gotten and how we've been able to move forward with those.
Yeah, Kim, I know you put your information in chat, but if you want to pop in and repeat it verbally as well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks for that. I wasn't too sure who was that, Christy?
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
always happy to hear your lovely accent. Yes, you pop in whenever.
So many faces. Yeah, folks. So look, what I'm doing is I'm based in Dubai. We're a consultancy firm, logistics supply chain. I'm dealing with 4 organizations who are effectively, professionally, in one case since 1993, into Ukraine itself in 93, which is based in Amsterdam, have got humanitarian convoys moving through. So if anybody needs, whether it's Everett or whether it's somebody else who wants to land, who can get freight into, whether it's with the help of one of the freight companies here from wherever their commencement location is, I can then connect them with a company in Cologne, another one in Ireland, that's Aid from Ireland. If you go to Facebook, Aid from Ireland, and another one in Cologne, and another one in Germany, in Amsterdam. So the Amsterdam guy is our business partner in Amsterdam, and the company's is in Cologne. But I've met the guys in Amsterdam. They've been doing this since '93. So very professional, very organized, full container loads, full pallet, full container loads, full truckloads, and they're running regular daily every 2 days in some occasions up to the border. They also have secure warehousing, distribution and cross-border arrangements and into Lviv for distribution. We all know that there's all sorts of complications at Lviv, but it sounds like that's more about missiles than humanitarian aid. But so, you know, if anybody from the US or anywhere else can get freight into Europe, I will then take time to work and connect with the third parties, logistics organizations. And I'm not too sure where and how most of any donated freight is getting from the US and into Europe. Maureen or Christy, what's normally happening? Is it mainly going by sea, and what ports is it going into?
Yeah, it's mainly going by sea and it's going into Poland. I believe Moni's container is going into Hungary, right, Moni? But most of the ones that I've been working on are going into Poland, and one or two of them are going to go into Ukraine from there and come back. Back to the port, and some of them are just going to stay within Poland and the material be distributed that way.
Well, either way, that's the link that I can provide. I'll be back in Europe in the next few weeks running a conference there, so I'll be connecting with these folks and just establishing, you know, more links for transport within Europe.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, we have you on our list of contacts for kind of the final mile once we get the product into Europe.
Yep, sure. Okay, keep up all the good work, everybody. This is a fantastic platform. Thanks for Vector and everybody contributing. I'm sure we'll get a lot of good out of it.
Does anybody else want to speak that hasn't spoken yet or is just joining us for the first time? We love hearing what people are doing.
So either everyone's shy or they're on spring break this week. We don't know. Well, at Vector, we've been pretty busy this week. We've Moni's container over with the blankets and everything has left or is about to leave. It's been waiting. Moni, you can speak up on that if you want.
Yeah, so that's just about to leave. There was rolling with the steamship line, but all the documents and everything else is ready. Just as soon as the vessel can depart, it will leave. And we are in touch with the church, the Faith Church in Budapest, because they're helping refugees, and they're also working with a refugee center that I cannot pronounce the name, but they're helping people to stay there to sleep, and they will give them some blankets. Since White House and Shapiro was the company who helped us to get these donations, they are not specialized in blankets. They usually ship used clothing to Chile. So this was like a very nice thing for them to do in a partnership with CERB. They are specialized in food, and they help in different type of disasters all around the world. So their core is not a blanket for any of these companies, but they just decided to try to do this because CERB has the contacts in Budapest, and White House and Shapiro could get the blanket. So we did matchmaking, sorry. Christy introduced them, and thanks Christy for that. And Hapag-Lloyd is helping to move these containers at cost. Also, Marcos Escobar of Swan, they are chipping in for the inland freight. The rate they gave us is like kind of the half of what it usually would cost. So thanks a lot. And we're doing that. And since White House and Shapiro got much more blankets than they were going to ship before, they are now looking into the possibility of leaving some in Budapest and then introducing the rest into the Ukraine to help the people who couldn't get out. And that's what we have been doing lately. And that's it.
That's good news, Moni. I know I see all the emails for that, so I'm happy to see that's on the water. As you guys know, that there's a lot of paperwork that goes involved. We want to make sure that when we're getting things overseas, that if the organization has the ability to receive the goods tax-free or with a limited customs penalty, we want to make sure that everything is settled as soon as possible. And so for this one, I think the shipper was a little bit new to shipping this sort of goods, so there was a little bit more paperwork back and forth. But because of these calls, we've had a bunch of inquiries, and we're about to ship another container from Ohio full of donated goods from an organization called Summit Missions. And the gentleman, Mark, was on previous emails about other containers and contacted me. And he works for the consignee in Poland. And so that's about to get picked up this week. And we have Matter's first container of donated goods going to EO Poland as well. That should be picked up later this week or first thing next week. We have a container for Hand in Hand that is going to a church in, and I always say it wrong, Kiev. And what else? We have some inquiries about shipping first aid kits directly from China to Poland. And there's a couple others that are in the works, but they're kind of coming in at a steady pace. And we do have Everett's donation. We're trying to figure out the best way to get that overseas. And again, with Matter, they've had a ton of product that they're ready to get going. And so, and Lee, I see you on. Nice to see you after our chat this morning.
Yes, good to talk to you as well. Sorry I was late for the meeting, but wanted to catch what I could.
Yeah. So Lee and I spoke this morning because he has a lot of different sorts of product to ship in the next couple months, and we were just talking about ways to do that and how that would work. And he and I talked about our phones ringing and phone numbers that we don't know, and we were answering them anyway, unless it said spam. But his name came up with his phone number on it. So we had a good chat this afternoon. But a lot of this just goes to, he and I were talking about sharing information, just like Evelyn was at the dentist and finds out her dentist has ties to Ukraine, and he just might have the ability to possibly, sponsor a container, or he knows somebody that wants to donate items over there. And that's how a lot of this good work that we're doing, it has a lasting effect. You never know when you're talking, who you're talking to, that they might just have one more link over there or a way to help. And that's the intent of these calls, is to share information and find ways to bring people from different backgrounds and different abilities to give and marry it up, and all for the right reason.
It's amazing how many people are connected and how many people care about this, right? On the flight here to Mexico, the flight attendant actually was from Ukraine. She had family there and was overwhelmed with just what's going on, of course. And but she was also very willing to help. She was actually raising some money to donate. And yeah, it's people around the world that are really trying to help. So thank you, everyone. Ilse, I don't know if you mentioned anything, but please feel free to do so. Kay, the same. Anyone that wants to jump in, by all means.
I would just like to make a few comments, but again, just asking individuals, just opening up the conversation. There's a man in my church who is a supplier of bulk handling equipment for various food processors. And so I approached him regarding his particular clients. And right now, I think he's got about a half a container of food, dried food lined up, for us to do. And, so then there's another man in my church on Sunday. He works for Federal Cartridge. And I was talking to him about the need which we have for boxes and trying to contain our cost on this. And he said, we throw boxes away all the time. We flatten them out and then get rid of them, and I'll see if you can have them. Well, if you have 500 boxes on a container and you're spending otherwise $4 in a box, that's a $2,000 savings.
Mhm. One
So,
man's trash is another man's treasure, right, Lee? We were talking about that earlier, you know.
Well, exactly that. And there's, we live in a country with massive abundance. We throw away things. I mean, on Matter's website, they assert that there's 5 billion pounds of medical supply that's thrown away every year. That's stunning. But again, I also work with a ministry that sends firefighting equipment. And firefighters in the United States are required, fire departments in the United States are required every 10 years to get brand new uniforms for all their firefighters. And most of these things, especially in rural communities, sometimes in 10 years, these things have never seen a fire. And they're available. And we had a connection in southern Minnesota, and word got out to a local fire department. He didn't have enough for us to pick it up. He put it out to the people he knew, and suddenly 30 departments have put things together that we'll be picking up on Saturday, warehousing, and as soon as we can find a place to send it in Ukraine, that's where it's going to go.
Lee, will you talk a little bit about your organization? Because I don't think that you shared it last week, and it might help give everybody some perspective on here.
Sure. Well, I work with Hand in Hand Together. KNETS is also on this. And Hand in Hand Together has been in existence for about 25, 26 years, sending containers of used clothing to Ukraine. We get those from a thrift center in Minnesota, which is all staffed by volunteers. And the purpose of it is to raise ministry funds, for Bible League of Bulgaria. And then also there's there's a coalition of churches where we send ministry to 6 other churches in Eastern Europe, Ukraine being one of them. And I've been involved in Ukraine for 25 years in various capacities, most 6 years with the Minnesota Coalition, and involved with Hand in Hand Together since 2009. So right now I've got probably 4 different partners that we're working together, firefighting, the medical equipment, the clothing, which is there, and then also food. Work with an organization called Life Rice, which is local. They're kind of a spin-off of Kids Against Hunger. And so they do these rice-based meals, which are there. And they have been, in turn, looking for a corporate sponsor for $60,000, and probably it's going to be the case. And that will buy enough food to fill a container. And then what happens is that those things are assembled by local church groups. So all of a sudden now you're just seeing this thing kind of explode in terms of a network of individuals who are involved. And my experience has been that as I talk with individuals, they watch the news and there's just like, there's heartache for what's going on. And they're angry as can be regarding what Russia is doing. They want to do something. They want to do something. And when you give them, I think, a hands-on kind of thing to do, to participate, all of a sudden they are energized. And not only are they energized, but then they're also willing to help financially when they understand that the food packets they're putting together, things like that, when those things are put together, we still have to get them. And so then you get small donations, things like that. I'm going to put in one more plug for individuals, if you know individuals who are involved with Thrivent Financial. If you're with Thrivent Financial is it's basically a non-profit financial association. They're big. They're $500 billion. They're significant, but they have 2 means of funding projects. One is if you're a member, you have 2 action team grants a year that you can apply for. Plus, since they are nonprofits, the dividends go toward charities of individuals' choices. And so that's another revenue source which can be generated. And sometimes on some of these projects, like for us to pack the food things, they will allow an unlimited number of action teams to collaborate to purchase the product. So lots of things out there, just need to start asking.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oksana, hello, how are you?
I sorry, looking for to turn on the sound. Yes, I'm good, thank you. Sorry for being late. I'm happy that I made it to join. Because everybody's asking me if we managed to proceed with anything. So Marina, I've spoken to you yesterday. Let me know if if we can get this file compiled together, just what we have at the moment and what else we need, so I can go around for other sponsors, so I can bring some more practical information to them, what we have and what else we need.
I don't know if she realizes she went on mute. You went on mute.
Did
for a
you
second.
hear me everything what I said? Just
Pretty much, yeah. So I just gone over a bit of it before you had jumped on, so you and I can catch up right after the call. And she was looking for kind of a list of things
Yeah,
that were
okay, sure.
willing to be donated and for us to compile it. So I spoke with Matter beforehand to get their updated list, and I had Everett's email, but she was trying to match up those in need there with the actual donation options from the states, so we could try and marry it up and make some more matchmaking when she and I talked yesterday.
Well, thank you so much, Oksana, for everything you're doing. Anyone else, if anyone wants to share anything else, I don't think we have any other updates from our end. We will continue to work on coordinating and matchmaking. So if you need anything, any support, any network contacts, just let us know through the Ukraine email. And then we'll keep kind of making those connections, trying to facilitate logistics, paying for as much freight as we possibly can, not only through Vector, but some of the other amazing organizations that are trying to help us do, like Hapag-Lloyd and Swan and tons of others, WCA and a bunch of others that even I believe, Evert, you mentioned that C.H. Robinson even is helping you, right, with some of the shipment, or they offer some trucks. So again, let's continue to come together. But
Absolutely. No, thank you.
Evelyn, you wrote us an amazingly nice email thanking us. I didn't want to put you on the spotlight, but you're such a great writer. I mean, like, it just flows and it's beautiful. So I thank you for everything you're doing and for inspiring us to continue doing what we're doing, everyone here in this call. So do you want to say anything? Because you have an amazing way with words.
Thank you. And again, I'm just so touched with all the networking on the spot that's happening. And now that I know the cost of what it takes from Minnesota to Poland, $2,000 to sponsor, see how I can raise that money. But I mentioned before, if anybody has an opportunity for a grant, I would be glad to edit a grant. I do not seek them, but I edit them because I have the perspective of the funder in mind when I edit the grant. So there might be something that you know perfectly all about the logistics, but there's just something in the funder's mind that they're looking for. And I try to ask those questions before you send them in.
Well, thank you. Thank you so very much. Yes, you're awesome. So thank you so much for joining this calls.
Thank you for the
Anyone
opportunity.
else? Maureen, is there anything else from like an admin kind of housekeeping?
No, I believe I covered it all. I mean, we have a lot of goods and we have a lot of inquiries and we have a lot of really great people joining our calls and sharing the information. And we'd love to have you extend the invite to anyone, your dentist, your anyone that you talk to that might be interested in learning more about what we're doing and what others are doing and how they might be able to help. We would love to see everybody on the call next week, and then, you know, bring a friend, bring a +1. So
I had that's a really good point. I had a good conversation yesterday with the president of the German American Chamber of Commerce in Atlanta. He was super impressed with what this group is doing. He was going to join next week. He couldn't this week, but he said he was going to share it very openly, very proactively, without me even suggesting it to him. He was open to share this to the entire German American Chamber community. So if you have any contacts out there at the Chambers of Commerce or the dentist or the bank or the flight attendant or anyone, I think it's worth a try, right? As Lee was saying, we have nothing to lose at this point, and we can keep pushing. So good point. And thanks everyone.
Auntie was, I apologize if we're all saying your name incorrectly as well, but your LinkedIn Facebook group you also included in the chat. Are there any other asks or gaps or trends or anything you're seeing that you want to talk about before we go?
It is like we have lots of needs, and then the needs kind of, now we are looking maybe to people who can volunteer time. So it is about kind of solving those problems when they come, and that's many times you need hands and talking heads to solve those problems. So that's kind of what we are struggling with, but we are trying to use the LinkedIn community as then to kind of, you know, voice those problems out. So join the group. You know, you never know what kind of connections you need or what kind of competences we need at any given day. So that's a good channel for us.
Have you looked into the entrepreneurship organization, Auntie, because they didn't participate today, that we had actually participated in the past, but I'll put you in touch if you're okay with them, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, and if you need volunteers, maybe they could potentially help.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay.
Perfect. Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for your time again, and we will send out this recording, the chat transcript, and information for next week. So hopefully a lot of people can join again. Oh, Pavel had to jump off because he's in I think he's actually in Ukraine, so hopefully he's okay. Oh, Odessa, that's right. Yes. And so, yeah, thank you for everybody for being here, and we hope to see you again next week. It's exciting, all these conversations that have been happening, and just all the people willing to help is really a bright spot in such hard times. So thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week.
I have just one question.
Yes.
Okay, Ilya Kaminsky is a poet who teaches at Georgia Tech. He's from Ukraine. I was looking at his poetry, Dancing in Odessa, and he has another poetry collection. It's the Deaf Republic. And he's making a lot of connections for writers in Ukraine. However, in his vast network, maybe there is somebody he knows that you all need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
We're up for talking to anybody.
Yeah,
And
please invite him.
our offices are very close to Georgia Tech as well, like literally a couple of blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can introduce us to her, we'll.
yeah, that'd be great, Evelyn.
Yeah.
I don't know him personally, but I've been reading a lot of his work, and I know he's busy every day doing that, and I'll see what marriage we can make.
Yeah.
I'll make him aware. That's
Perfect.
what I like to do, connect.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody again, and have a great rest of your week, and we'll come back next week with more updates and good news.
Everyone,
guys.
thank you.
I really
Bye.
appreciate you,
Thanks.
everything you do. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for all
Bye-bye.
you do.